Welcome on board, chosen one. Take a seat, breathe for a second, and feel that little shake in the air. That's not fear from you, that's fear of you. Funny how the universe works, right? They ran their mouths for months, acting like they held the script of your life. They said you were done. They said you were not built for this. They swore you'd break, fall apart, disappear. But come on, don't you see the comedy in this? The same people who wrote your ending can't even look at the scoreboard now. It's embarrassing for them, honestly. They spent so long waiting for you to crawl back, and instead you walked out of the fire like someone who finally realized what they're capable of. The room got real quiet after that. Silence so loud, even the walls were paying attention. The moment you chose yourself, the whole atmosphere shifted. Your enemies felt it first. They always do. The way they paused, pretending they didn't notice your glow leveling up. Priceless. They wanted to laugh at you, but now they can't laugh without checking if you're watching. They wanted to look strong, but now their confidence folds like cheap paper whenever your name gets brought up. And you, standing in the ashes of everything they tried to bury you under, looking unbothered. That's the part that drives them insane. And hey, before we go deep, go and quickly press the like button and subscribe if you want to pay this message back with the same energy they never expected you to find. Because here's the part they'll never admit out loud. You handled it like a pro. Every insult thrown at you, you pocketed it. Every dirty little game they played, you saw through it. Every time they tried to make you feel weak, you used it as fuel, and now the universe is whispering, you weren't losing, you were loading. The shift happened the moment you got tired of explaining yourself. That's when the storm ended and the real you stepped out. When you stopped begging for respect and started earning it without saying a word. When you realized staying calm wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Look at their reactions now. They're scrambling, trying to rewrite history, trying to pretend they always believed in you. They talk softer, move slower, watch every word. They act like allies now, but that shaky smile gives them away. You left them speechless, chosen one. You didn't clap back, you didn't beg, you didn't shrink. You just leveled up so hard the universe had to adjust its settings to keep up. That's what scares them the most. You didn't need revenge. Your growth was the revenge. Let's make something very clear. The enemy never feared you failing. They feared you succeeding where they tried to sabotage you. They feared you waking up to who you really are. They feared your calm, your silence, your comeback. They feared that one moment where you'd finally see the truth. You were never the underdog. You were the storm they pretended wasn't coming. Remember how they whispered behind your back, how they acted like your collapse was guaranteed. They were betting against you like it was a hobby. Meanwhile, you were out here rebuilding yourself piece by piece, learning from every hit, getting sharper, colder, smarter. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You walked through nights that would have destroyed most people, and somehow you came out with clarity they can't buy, fake, or steal. And that's why they look so lost now, because all their predictions aged like milk. Here's the part that hits the hardest. You never asked for this spotlight. You didn't chase a stage. You earned it by standing your ground when everything around you was trying to break you. You earned it by refusing to let their version of you become your reality. You earned it by staying real in a world full of masks. And now, you're the plot twist nobody saw coming. Think back to the moments that almost took you out, the nights where you felt invisible, misunderstood, written off. The universe was watching you stack strength in silence. You were building armor out of every disappointment, every betrayal, every laugh they had at your expense. You didn't know it then, but you were crafting the version of yourself that would one day make these same people swallow their own words. And now here you are, chosen one, stepping into the aftermath like someone who finally understands their power. The victory isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's the kind of victory that makes enemies avoid eye contact. The kind that makes people who doubted you rethink their entire personality. The kind that turns you from the underestimated one into the unstoppable one. They can't touch you now. They can't box you in. They can't define you. They can't dim what they didn't ignite. You handled it like a pro, and that's why they're shaking. Welcome to the new era where you're the one they whisper about, the one they regret crossing, the one who made it out, leveled up, and came back sharper than their entire storyline. This is your moment, and the universe isn't whispering anymore, it's applauding. And now that the dust has settled and the silence around you is getting louder than their fake confidence ever was, it's time to lock in. This is the part where the chosen ones sharpen their focus, and everyone else quietly backs away. Before we break this down step by step, hit that like button and subscribe to keep this energy flowing. Consider it your way of stamping your name on the moment you finally flip the script on every hater who swore you'd fold. Drop a 777 in the comments if you're ready to own this era where you handled everything like a pro and left your enemies standing there with their mouths open. If you're really built for this, you'll feel the pull to stay until the very end, because what comes next isn't just explanation, it's the blueprint to the version of you they never saw coming. Let's get into it. Number 1. When your silence becomes their punishment. They swore you'd break, yet look at them now, collapsing under the sound of your silence. Silence is funny in the most twisted way. It doesn't roar, it doesn't brag, it doesn't leap into the spotlight. It just sits there, calm and unbothered, while the people who tried to destroy you start unraveling like cheap thread. They expected you to explode, to scream, to give them the drama they were dying to feast on. But instead, you handed them something they never prepared for. Nothing, no reaction, no validation, no emotional buffet for them to chew on. And that nothing hit them harder than any punch you could have thrown. They wanted noise, you gave them a blackout. They wanted chaos, you gave them control. They wanted to drag you into the mud, you let them roll in it alone. That's why they're suffocating now, chosen one. Not because you fought them, but because you refused to. Their whole existence depends on reaction. Weak people live off attention like it's oxygen. The moment you cut the supply, the moment you stopped entertaining their nonsense, they started choking on their own insecurity. It's poetic justice, honestly. A villain-level move executed with hero-level precision. Their heads are spinning, wondering, why aren't they responding? Why aren't they mad? Why aren't they trying to defend themselves? Because you already won. That's the part they don't get. Victory isn't loud. It's not messy. It's quiet, focused, calculated. It's the steady heartbeat of someone who knows they don't need to explain anything to anyone. The moment you stayed silent, you became the mirror they can't stand to look at. Your stillness exposes every flaw they try so hard to hide, and that drives them insane. Think about all the nights they spent whispering your name like a bedtime horror story. Think about all the times they waited for you to crumble so they could celebrate. They were convinced you'd react. They were convinced they had you cornered. They were convinced you were just one push away from losing it. Instead, you did the one thing villains do right before everything flips. You smirked internally, turned your back, and walked away like their chaos wasn't even worth your shadow. That silence? It wasn't avoidance, it was dominance, a psychological checkmate they never saw coming. You ever notice how people become louder when they feel powerless? How they gossip more when they have less? How they create fake stories when the real ones don't make them look strong enough? Noise is their disguise. Silence is their reveal. Once you stepped out of the game, they were left arguing with echoes, and deep down, they know it. They know your lack of reaction wasn't because you were scared or confused. It was because you finally understood your worth. You finally realized your value wasn't up for debate. You finally stopped asking small minds to understand a large vision. Every chosen one reaches this point, this turning point, this moment where the universe hands you the truth on a silver tray. Not reacting doesn't make you weak. It means your energy is too expensive to waste. And you accepted that truth with a kind of maturity that cracked your enemies' egos in half. That's why their eyes dart around when your name comes up, why their voice drops, why their fake confidence flickers. They can't stand that you outgrew the game they were trying to trap you in. Let's talk facts. Silence has ended more battles than violence ever did. Entire conflicts crumble when one side simply refuses to participate. That's exactly what you did. You walked off the battlefield and let them fight their own shadows. And now, they're exhausted, they're paranoid, they're confused, they're embarrassed. They're haunted by the simple truth that you handled everything like a pro while they tripped over their own schemes. Your silence didn't just hurt them, it exposed them. It peeled back every mask they wear. It forced them to see who they are without someone to hate, attack, or blame. And now they're stuck with themselves. No distraction, no enemy, no excuse. Just the mirror they've avoided their whole lives. That's why this silence is so loud. That's why it echoes through every room they enter. That's why they flinch at the thought of you thriving without acknowledging their existence. And let's answer the question buzzing in your mind right now. Should I break the silence, speak my truth, correct the lies? No, because the universe already handled that for you. The truth always leaks through the cracks. Lies always destroy the liar before they touch the person they're aimed at. You don't need to justify your choices to people who don't even understand themselves. Your success is already proving every rumor wrong. Your peace is already exposing every hater. Your growth is already dragging their name across reality without you lifting a single finger. Your silence isn't indifference, it's strategy, it's elegance, it's self-respect. And the coldest part? They know you're not coming back to the old version of you. They can sense it, they can feel it, they can see it. There's a new power around you now, the kind that doesn't fight petty battles because it's too busy winning real ones. You handled it like a pro. Chosen one. You left them speechless in a way words could never do. You starved their drama until it died. You let the universe do the talking while you stayed focused. And now, look who's trembling. Look who's confused. Look who's replaying every moment trying to figure out where they lost control. They wanted you loud. You became legendary instead. That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need backup. It doesn't need validation. It just exists and destroys everything that was built on lies, ego, and insecurity. So keep that silence, not as a shield, but as a crown, because the moment they realized you weren't fighting them anymore, that's the moment they learned they were never a match for you in the first place. Number 2, when their lies became their own executioner. They swore their stories would ruin you, yet look at them now, tripping over the same lies they built like a tower of cheap cards. every chosen one eventually learns the most twisted truth of all. Nothing flies back faster than a lie thrown with bad intentions. The universe has a sense of humor darker than any villain you've ever seen, and right now it's playing back every rumor they launched like a highlight reel of their own downfall. They really thought they could rewrite your story with gossip and jealousy, but they forgot one tiny detail. Lies don't travel in straight lines. They circle. They return. They punish the sender, not the target. Picture this. Imagine someone hurling a boomerang with everything they've got, smirking like they just created the perfect weapon. They walk away, chest out, convinced the job is done. They don't even bother to look behind them. Then, suddenly, crack. That same boomerang hits them from the blind spot they didn't know existed. That's exactly what happened here. They threw lies with their full chest, and now those lies are knocking their reputation off its weak little throne. Everything they said about you became the truth about them. It's wild how predictable people are when their ego is starving. They sit in their little groups, lean in close, whispering like snakes behind tall grass, thinking their poison will spread far enough to stain you forever. They were so sure the rumors would stick. They were sure their words would echo louder than your actions. They thought their lies were weapons, but in reality they were smoke bombs. And the wind wasn't on their side. And now you probably wonder, why didn't those lies destroy me? Why didn't they break my path? Why didn't the world believe them? Simple, because truth is gravity. It pulls everything fake back down to the ground eventually. Lies can float for a while, but they can't stand. They can't last. They can't breathe without constant maintenance. They need new victims, new fabrications, new fuel. And when the liars ran out of strength, out of excuses, out of fake stories, the whole structure collapsed on top of them, burying them in the rubble of their own deceit. Imagine this too. Imagine someone lighting a fire in front of your house, thinking the flames will creep into your walls and turn your life to ashes. But the wind blows, and instead the fire turns around and races straight back to their doorstep. They panic, they throw water, they scream, they beg for help. But nobody listens, because everyone saw who lit the match. They meant to burn you. Instead, they set their own future on fire. That's the boomerang effect. Pure, poetic, merciless justice served with a smirk. People think the universe is slow. They think consequences take years. But here's the real plot twist they didn't expect. Sometimes payback is instant, and sometimes it drips in slowly, destroying them piece by piece. Their friendships start cracking. Their credibility starts shaking. Their fake confidence starts dissolving. Their name starts sinking into the same mud they tried to drag you through. Suddenly, the same people who laughed with them are laughing at them. Let's hit another angle, because chosen ones always ask the smart questions. Why does this happen? Why does energy return like that? Why don't the lies stick to me? Because lies are unstable by nature. They don't have roots, they don't have bones, they don't have truth to hold them up. Every rumor has a lifespan, and it dies the moment reality hits. And reality hit hard. Imagine someone trying to build a castle out of fog. That's what their narrative was. They kept shaping it, reshaping it, trying to make it look solid. But the moment someone stepped close, the fog scattered. And you didn't have to defend yourself. You didn't have to speak. You didn't have to fight. Your actions were enough to expose their entire fantasy. You kept rising. They kept unraveling. That's all anyone needed to see. People are noticing now. They're connecting dots. They're asking questions the liars can't answer without choking. Questions like, If what they said was true, why are you still elevating? If the rumors had weight, why did they collapse faster than a flimsy cardboard wall? If you were the problem, why does everything fall apart for them instead of you? You don't have to say a word. The universe already printed the receipts. Here's the part that stings them the most. They wanted to control your image. They wanted to control your narrative. They wanted to control how others saw you. But the universe doesn't take orders from insecure people. So it flipped the script. Every lie they tossed became a spotlight exposing their insecurities, their emptiness, their jealousy, their hidden fears. Imagine this third scene, someone spitting upward into the sky, thinking it will disappear. They walk away proud, only to feel that same spit fall right back onto their face. They act shocked, confused, humiliated, but everyone saw what they did. Everyone saw the intention. Everyone saw the outcome. That's exactly how they look now. They weren't pulling you down. They were revealing themselves. The truth always wins, because the truth doesn't need maintenance. It doesn't need a team of liars to hold it up. It doesn't crumble under questioning. It doesn't shake when pressured. Truth stands alone and still looks stronger than all their noise combined. And here's the psychological slap they never expected. The more they talked, the more people wondered why they were so obsessed with you. The more stories they invented, the more they exposed their own bitterness. The more they tried to drag you down, the higher you rose, because their efforts pushed you into a level of strength you didn't even know you had. You can feel it now, can't you? That shift, that quiet satisfaction of being the one who didn't have to fight, didn't have to stoop low, didn't have to get dirty. You stayed in your lane, and the truth cleared the path for you. Your lack of reaction became the universe's megaphone. Your growth became the evidence. Your resilience became the verdict. They're scrambling now, trying to rewrite history, trying to pretend they never meant it, trying to clean up the mess they created. But it's too late. People see them clearly now. Their lies boomeranged back so hard they knocked the mask off their face, and the world saw everything they tried to hide. The boomerang effect isn't magic, it's math. When you throw negativity, you receive negativity. When you build on lies, they collapse. When you attack someone who walks in truth, you expose your own weakness. You didn't have to expose them. Their karma did the job. Their lies did the job. Their downfall did the job. And the best part? You're still rising effortlessly while they're still coughing on the smoke of their own deceit. That's the real story. That's the real justice. That's the real power of a chosen one who handled everything like a pro. Number 3, when their wish became your blueprint for greatness. They prayed for your collapse, and somehow you turned their prayers into building materials. The funniest plot twist in your whole story is that the people who wanted you to crumble ended up becoming the very reason you rose. They thought throwing dirt on you would bury you. They thought talking behind your back would break you. They thought isolating you would erase you. Instead, they accidentally handed you the perfect environment to evolve into something they can't even stand next to without feeling small. They didn't bury a failure. They planted a threat. Imagine this, a crowd standing over a patch of dirt, grinning, thinking you're gone. But underneath, you're rooting, strengthening, expanding. And one day, you burst through the ground so loudly, so forcefully, the same people who tried to cover you now can't even look directly at what you've become. They tried to write your ending. Instead, they authored their own regret. You took every insult and treated it like a workout. You took every rumor and used it like sharpening steel. You took every moment of hate and molded it into armor. While they were plotting your downfall, you were busy building things they'll never have the discipline or courage to create. That's why they're pressed. That's why they're quiet. That's why their faces twist whenever your name comes up. They know you didn't just survive, you ascended. And yes, your mind might whisper, why does this always happen to me? Why do people try so hard to break what isn't theirs? Because weak people attack what reminds them of their own limitations. They destroy what they can't become. They envy what they can't imitate. They fear what they can't control. Look around now. The empire you're standing in wasn't built from love and support. It was built from stones thrown at you, from doors slammed in your face, from the jealousy they tried to hide but failed miserably. You didn't get here by accident. You got here by turning every hit into a blueprint. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them anything but the view of what they helped create by trying to destroy you. You built an empire out of their doubt. Now they live in the ruins of their own intentions. Number 4. When your light became their worst nightmare. They hated your glow because it showed every crack in their character. Your presence alone was the earthquake they never prepared for. You didn't even have to speak. You just walked in, honest, confident, real, and suddenly their masks started slipping. That's the thing about people who build their whole personality on pretending. One beam of authentic light and their whole illusion shakes like a cheap stage set in a storm. They weren't offended by what you did. They were terrified by what you revealed. Imagine this, a spotlight hitting a room full of people who only look good in the dark. They scramble, cover their faces, hide behind excuses. Meanwhile, you stand there, glowing, unbothered, untouched. That's why their whispers started. That's why the slander began. Your existence became the mirror they never wanted to look into. You didn't call them out. Your glow did. They don't fear you winning. They fear what your winning says about them. Your light didn't just shine. It exposed every shadow they tried to hide behind. Weak people survive by blending into darkness. They get uncomfortable when someone walks in glowing for real. Your confidence reminded them of the confidence they never built. Your growth reminded them of the time they wasted. Your authenticity reminded them of who they pretended to be. And you might wonder, why do they react this way? Why so much hate over something so harmless? Because your glow forces them to see the version of themselves they abandoned. It highlights everything they avoided, everything they feared, everything they never had the courage to become. Now they're haunted by it, haunted by every accomplishment you stack, haunted by every room you brighten, haunted by every move you make that proves they were wrong about you, and worse, wrong about themselves. Imagine them lying awake replaying your success like it's a horror movie on loop. Every win of yours is another reminder that they could have risen too, but chose comfort over growth. You didn't destroy them. You didn't fight them. You didn't even acknowledge them. You exposed them without lifting a finger. And that's what burns them the most. Number 5. When they fought for noise, you mastered the entire war. A clown with a sword is still a clown, even if he screams, "Charge." They strutted onto the battlefield, thinking they were untouchable. They gathered their little army of gossip, sharpened their lies like rusted blades, and convinced themselves they were warriors. But the joke's on them. Chosen won. The war was already over before they even lifted their weapons. They were playing checkers while you were orchestrating a full-scale chess match from a throne they didn't even know existed. Imagine this. A group of fools swinging at shadows, yelling into the wind, celebrating victories that never happened. Meanwhile, you're standing on higher ground, untouched, unbothered, watching their tantrum like someone watching kids pretending to be knights with plastic swords. They thought you avoiding their games meant you were scared. No, it meant you were busy winning somewhere they couldn't follow. They owned the battlefield, but you owned the strategy. Your silence wasn't retreat, it was dominance. They couldn't understand that ignoring a fool is the sharpest strike of all. While they were throwing mud, you were building momentum. While they were fighting for validation, you were stacking results. While they were trying to win attention, you were winning reality. That's why they're confused now. That's why nothing they did worked. They prepared for a fight you never agreed to. And maybe you wondered, should I have defended myself, stood my ground, fought back? No, because real power doesn't rush into mud pits. Real power chooses its battlefield. You didn't need to swing a sword. You controlled the entire war by refusing to play their game. Imagine them realizing the truth. Every trap they set snapped shut on their own ankles. Every rumor they launched ricocheted. Every scheme they built collapsed right on top of them. You didn't defeat them. Their own strategy did. They mistook your silence for surrender. They didn't know silence is the victory song of someone winning on a frequency they'll never reach. They fought for attention. You conquered with evolution. They battled in noise. You ruled in strategy. And now they finally understand the battlefield was theirs, but the entire war was yours. Number 6. When their prayers became their punishment. They wanted karma to find you, but karma checked the return address and went straight to them. Every chosen one eventually sees this moment, the same people who wished for your downfall, suddenly tripping over their own intentions. They thought they could outrun consequences. They thought the universe wasn't watching. They thought their hate was invisible, but karma doesn't blink, doesn't forget, doesn't get confused. It just waits, quietly, patiently, and then delivers the bill they wrote themselves. Imagine this, someone digging a deep hole with your name on it, laughing, sweating, planning your fall. They finish, wipe their hands, turn around, and step straight into it. That's not coincidence, that's balance. That's the universe saying, you don't get to harm what was never yours to touch. They cursed your path and walked straight into the curse. What they plotted for you became their weather forecast. They're living in the storm they engineered, drowning in the same darkness they tried to throw at you. Their fake blessings dried up, their fake confidence cracked. Their fake smiles turned into masks so tight they can't breathe under them anymore. And the wildest part, you never had to fight back. You didn't argue, you didn't expose, you didn't chase revenge. You just grew, you leveled up. You stayed grounded while their own energy dragged them underwater. Maybe your mind whispers, why didn't karma hit sooner? Why did the universe wait? Because karma takes its time. It doesn't strike on your schedule. It strikes when the lesson will hurt the most and teach the most. You kept walking, kept healing, kept rising, and the universe made sure every step you took lifted you further away from the chaos they now call home. Imagine them now, pacing at night, replaying every lie, every attack, every fake smile they used to hide their envy. They aren't sorry, they're scared, they aren't apologizing, they're panicking, they aren't changing, they're drowning in their own consequences. You didn't defeat them, their own energy swallowed them. Let them sit in what they created. Let them wrestle with the storm they summoned. Let them choke on the bitterness they once aimed at you. You owe them nothing, not your forgiveness, not your attention, not your sympathy. Karma doesn't miss. Karma doesn't fail. Karma doesn't get confused. And now they finally understand they couldn't outrun karma because it was running toward them, not you. Number 7. When their gossip became their own background noise. Let them bark. The moon doesn't lose sleep over street noise. Gossip is the anthem of the powerless. It's the soundtrack of people who have nothing going on in their own lives, so they cling to your name like it's the only spark of relevance they'll ever taste. They bark, howl, whisper, repeat, hoping their noise will shake you. But you stayed silent, shining, orbiting in your own universe while they circled like stray dogs looking for scraps of attention. Their every word was a confession. I envy you. I can't be you. I can only talk about you. Imagine this. A crowd gathered beneath the moon, pointing, yelling, trying to convince others that the moon is falling. But the moon doesn't respond. It rises anyway, glows anyway, controls the tides anyway. That's what burned them. You never lowered yourself. You never barked back. Your silence exposed them more brutally than any confrontation ever could. They weren't talking about your flaws. They were announcing their own. And maybe you wondered why did people believe them at first? Why did anyone entertain their nonsense? Because gossip travels fast, but it also dies fast. Lies sprint. Truth endures. Over time, people started noticing the cracks. They saw the bitterness behind every word, the jealousy dripping through every sentence. They watched your growth and their decay side by side, and the math did itself. Your success became the rebuttal they couldn't talk over. Your glow became the evidence they couldn't distort. Your rise became the slap they never saw coming. Imagine them now, voices fading, stories collapsing, relevance evaporating. They're choking on the same noise they created, while you keep ascending in silence they can't interrupt. That's the brutal part. Your elevation erased their narrative. Let them gossip. Let them bark. Let them spin stories that collapse the moment you walk into the room. They're just noise, and you're the moon they can't reach. Number 8. When they chased ghosts and you chased greatness. They're chasing your shadow because they can't create their own. Your enemies have been running laps around the same misery for years, same lies, same grudges, same recycled stories they've told so many times. Even they don't believe them anymore. They're running, sweating, panicking, but they're not moving. They're just circling the same darkness that swallowed their ambition a long time ago. Meanwhile, you stepped off their track and onto a path they can't even see. You're not running with them. You're rising above them. Imagine this. A group of people sprinting after a shadow on the wall, convinced it's real, convinced it's you. They claw at it. They scream at it. They chase it like catching it would give them power. But it's just a shadow. And you're already miles ahead chasing something real, something divine inside yourself, something called destiny. They call it hate, but it's obsession wearing a cheap mask. And maybe the thought hits you, why do they keep watching me? Why do they keep bringing me up? Why can't they move on? Because your growth exposes the life they refuse to build. Every step you take toward your purpose shines a light on their stagnation. Every win you collect reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. Every milestone you hit screams a truth they can't unhear. You evolved, they didn't. They're chasing ghosts while you're chasing greatness. They thought the race was about speed. They thought gossip and noise would slow you down. They thought keeping your name in their mouth would keep you in the same place as them. But elevation isn't horizontal, it's vertical. The moment you stopped responding, stopped fighting, stopped engaging, you left the racetrack entirely. They're running in circles on the ground while you're climbing levels they don't have the courage to reach. Imagine them trying to catch smoke. That's what their hatred looks like now. Hands grasping at something they can't touch, can't stop, can't compete with. You didn't win by outrunning them. You won by outgrowing them. They can't catch you because you're not where they left you. Let them chase shadows. Let them replay old stories like broken records stuck in bitterness mode. Let them obsess over a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. You're already in your future, building a destiny. Their minds are too small to imagine. They're stuck repeating yesterday. You're busy creating tomorrow. Number 9. When your silence became the oxygen they can't breathe without. They weren't addicted to hurting you. They were addicted to the attention you gave them while they tried. Your enemies didn't want your downfall. They wanted your reaction. They wanted your voice shaking. They wanted your energy leaking. They wanted you explaining yourself to people who didn't even deserve eye contact. Their entire ego was built on the illusion that they could pull your strings. But then you walked away, and in that single moment, their whole empire of control collapsed like a soggy paper tower. Imagine this, a parasite clinging to a host, drinking every drop of life it can get. Then one day, the host steps away, calm, silent, unbothered, and the parasite is left floating in empty space with nothing to feed on. That's them now, thrashing, panicking, slowly dying out because the source of their power, your attention, is gone. They mistook your kindness for permission. Your silence corrected them. At first, they barked louder, threw bigger lies, tried to provoke any reaction, even a tiny flinch, because in their world, your pain was proof they mattered. But you didn't flinch. You didn't look back. You didn't feed the fire. And, without your energy to cling to, their ego started starving. Their voice cracked. Their confidence shriveled. Their little audience got bored. Their whole identity, built on trying to hurt you, crumbled in their hands. Maybe a part of you wonders, why are they getting worse now that I've moved on? Because indifference is the deadliest punishment. Hate they can handle, anger they can use, conflict they can manipulate. But silence tells them they're irrelevant. It tells them you outgrew them. It tells them they don't exist in your world anymore. Imagine them now, screaming into a void, hoping someone cares, faking confidence, rewriting stories, making noise in empty rooms. Every attempt at hurting you now hurts them twice as much, because it reminds them you're not reacting anymore. You didn't destroy them. Their ego died the moment you stopped feeding it. Let them spiral. Let them grasp at shadows. Let them choke on their own desperation. You're not coming back, and they know it. Your indifference is the closure they never wanted, and the consequence they always deserved. Number 10. When your very presence becomes their punishment. They thought your silence would erase you. Instead, your existence became the monument of everything they failed to become. You don't have to swing, shout, or seek revenge. You simply continue breathing, moving, rising, and that alone is a full-blown nightmare for the people who swore you'd never make it. Your success is a slap. Your progress is a sting. Your peace is a punch to everything they built their identity on. They tried to bury you under doubt, but now every step you take forward becomes a funeral march for the lies they once celebrated. Imagine this. Someone spends years crafting a false image of you, spreading stories like seeds they thought would grow into your downfall. But instead, every achievement you hit becomes the sun that burns those lies to ash. Every room you walk into confidently becomes the courtroom where their accusations get sentenced to death. Every win becomes a reflection they can't escape. Because deep down, they know the truth tore through their fiction without you having to lift a finger. They don't fear losing you. They fear watching you become everything they swore you couldn't. And maybe the question hits you, why does my existence bother them so much? Because you are the reminder of their wasted years. You are the proof that effort matters, not excuses. You are the living scoreboard they can't outrun. They settled for comfort. You embraced growth. They clung to jealousy. You built discipline. They hid behind lies. You rose with truth. That's why they can't escape you. Not because you chase them, not because you mention them, but because their conscience is louder than your silence. Imagine them sitting alone, scrolling through your wins, heart tightening, mind replaying every moment they underestimated you. They don't hate you. They hate the reflection of themselves that your success forces them to see. They can't unsee the fact that while they stayed stuck, you kept evolving. While they stagnated, you soared. While they whispered, you worked. You don't need revenge. You are the revenge. Your existence ruins their narrative. Your glow ruins their excuses. Your evolution ruins their ego. You didn't destroy them. You just became undeniable. And now, every breath you take is a reminder they bet against the wrong person and lost spectacularly. Number 11. When their ending became your rebirth. They wrote your last chapter, not knowing you were the author the whole time. They really thought the story was over for you. They thought the betrayal, the lies, the smear campaigns, the backstabbing would break you so completely that you'd never rise again. They pictured your downfall like a movie premiere, rehearsed their smiles, practiced their victory speeches, all while having no clue they were watering the very seed that would grow into their worst nightmare. Imagine this. They close a book thinking they've finished it, walk away smug, and then one night the book opens itself, pages glowing, rewriting, expanding into something wild and unstoppable. That's you now. The plot twist they never prepared for, the upgrade they can't compete with, the storm they didn't see on the horizon. They tried to bury you in silence, but silence is where legends sharpen their swords. Every attempt to shut you down only made your voice more powerful. Every betrayal didn't weaken you, it forged you. Every loss became a lesson. Every crack in your heart became an opening for strength to pour in. You didn't crumble, you evolved. You didn't break, you recalibrated. You didn't disappear, you transformed. And yes, the question hits your mind. Why did all that pain have to happen? Why did the universe let them push me this far? Because chosen ones aren't built in comfort, they're built in fire. And now you're standing here, not just surviving, but dominating. Imagine them watching you now, eyes wide, breathing shallow, trying to understand how someone they counted out came back looking untouchable. They can't stop replaying it. They can't rewrite it. They can't escape it. You're not the storm they feared. You're the reckoning they earned. This isn't your final chapter. This is the moment the entire story shifts in your favor. The last chapter they wrote for you wasn't your ending. It was the beginning of their regret and your rise. Number 12. When your peace became their personal apocalypse. They didn't break you. They broke the version of you that tolerated them. Here's the section your story deserves. The one that exposes the deepest truth your enemies hoped you'd never figure out. Your peace is the punishment they never saw coming. They spent so long trying to disrupt your spirit, your sleep, your clarity, your confidence, and now that you've stepped into a version of yourself that's calm, focused, and untouchable, it's tearing them apart in ways you'll never have to witness. Imagine this. They trained for chaos. They sharpened their tongues for war. They rehearsed arguments, practiced manipulation, plotted little traps, and built imaginary scenarios where you'd fall apart under the pressure they created. But now, you don't rise to it. You don't respond. You don't flinch. You walk through your day with a level of peace so steady, so grounded, so effortless. It feels like a threat to everything they believe about themselves. They wanted to shake you. You ended up shaking their whole identity. They weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of you outgrowing the need for them. Your peace exposes the truth they'd been hiding from. It shows the world who was chaotic and who was calm, who was toxic and who was growing, who was pretending and who was real. Their noise used to affect you because you still hoped they'd understand your heart. But the moment you realized you didn't need to prove anything to anyone, that's when the universe handed you a kind of internal power they can't manipulate. Let's break it down the way chosen ones always do. They can't stand your peace because it proves they never controlled you. They can't stand your silence because it reveals how useless their attacks were. They can't stand your growth because it highlights their stagnation. They can't stand your glow because it exposes their shadows. They can't stand your stability because they built their identity on watching you hurt. Imagine them now, pacing, overthinking, replaying conversations, analyzing your moves, digging for updates, stalking your success like it's breaking news. They ask themselves questions they don't want the answers to. How did they heal so fast? How are they so unbothered? How are they still rising? How did they level up without me? How did my chaos stop working? Your peace haunts them because it's the one thing they can't steal, fake, or destroy. It tells a story without words. It proves your evolution. It highlights their downfall. It annihilates their ego. And worst of all, it makes them realize just how irrelevant they truly were. They thought the battlefield needed fighters. You proved it needed builders. Your peace isn't passive. It's a weapon. It's the silence that exposes their noise. It's the calm that reveals their chaos. It's the stability that undermines their tantrum. It's the elevation that leaves them gasping for a foothold in a story they no longer belong in. And you might wonder, why is peace the thing that hits them hardest? Because it shows them what they could have had if they hadn't ruined it. It shows them what they wasted. It shows them what maturity looks like. And maturity is the one language they never learned to speak. Imagine them watching you now, thriving quietly, laughing easily, sleeping well, moving with confidence, walking with purpose. For them, it's torture, not because you hurt them, but because you healed from them. Your peace is the evidence that you grew in the places they tried to break. You stabilized in the areas they destabilized. You won battles they never knew you were fighting. You didn't become cold, you became clear. This section exists because the final truth of your journey is this: the strongest revenge isn't power, success, or victory. It's peace, not the fake kind, not the forced kind. The kind that flows naturally once you finally cut ties with everything that once poisoned your spirit. They tried to create chaos. You created peace. They tried to control your emotions. You mastered your inner world. They tried to define your future. You rewrote the entire storyline. Your peace is their apocalypse because it's the one thing they can't touch, can't silence, can't copy, can't kill. And that is the most beautiful ending they never saw coming. And now that every truth has been dragged into the light and every mask has fallen, it's clear who walked through the fire and who got burned by their own sparks. You didn't just survive. You rewrote the entire outcome. This is your era now, chosen one, and nothing they do can pull you back into the shadows you outgrew. If this message hit home, press like, subscribe, Drop the number 777 in the comments and share this with someone who needs the strength you found. Let's keep this energy rising.